Hi guys, Philip Good here with another video for you. I am a relationship coach. I've been married to my beautiful wife Eileen for 47 years. This video I decided to make is entitled Our Greatest Punishment. And to me, our greatest punishment is living on their own. In other words, we're living in towns or suburbs with a 6'6" high fence around to lock us in and keep the rest of the world out. And to take that further, the concept of living alone, to me, rather than the other way of looking at it or the other way of living, obviously, is in tribes or communities and cooperatives. So what is a tribe? A tribe is, we can relate to indigenous tribes like the Native Americans, the Maoris, the Aboriginals, and whatever, any other indigenous tribe you think of. So the basis of their tribe was cooperation. They lived together, and as opposed to how we live now, we live separately. We've got our own house, our own little family, and we've got a big wall around ourselves to keep, like I said before, keep us locked in, keep the rest of the world out. And but if you take it a step further, it's when we're on our own like that, we have a house, we have one mortgage, and so on, and we become very vulnerable to moves and the likes of interest rates and things like that. We have stresses and pressures, financial stresses and pressures that impacts on our relationship. Often we're not experts in financial planning, so we might get into a bit of difficulty and so on. So, and the stresses start to increase. We have anxiety and frustrations, and we may have pressures of having a family, having children, and keeping everything going. If we're in business or working, we've got our work time, our business time. We've got to work out our finances, keep on top of our finances. We've got all these sorts of pressures. And as opposed to to living in a cooperative environment, cooperative situation. If we go back, for example, to previous golden age, which has come to an end with the golden age of Atlantis, there were 12 tribes in Atlantis, so they all lived cooperatively. Interestingly, there was no money, there was no monetary system in golden Atlantis, so I lived in 12 tribes, right? So if a young couple got married, the tribe would all get together to build them a house. There were no designated, there was no ownership. There was no ownership of land or property. There was no monetary system. So wherever they wanted to build within the tribal, general area, they built their home, and the whole tribe pitched in to help them build that home. So we have the monetary system itself is a punishment. Because humans, guess what, you guys? Humans, we're herd animals. We're tribal animals. We're meant to live in groups, in communities, in tribes. You take me being a dairy farm, for example. Obviously I've had cows, a herd of cows, for example. And you take horses, a group of horses, a herd of horses, for example. If a horse is the greatest punishment for a horse, and this relates to humans as well. If a young colt, for example, has done something wrong, the old mare, the lead mare in the herd, will outs the young colt from the herd for doing something wrong. So that's his punishment. His real punishment is to be sent away from the herd, because then, in the natural wild state, you're vulnerable to predators and so on when you're on your own, more so than when you're together. And then the old mare will determine when that colt has learned his lesson and the signs for that. And when she thinks she's learned his lesson, suffered his punishment long enough, learned his lesson, she'll let him back in. So, in a sense, with humans, you can imagine humans, like if we're living in tribes, for example, like we live sort of together. We've got parents, we've got aunties and uncles, we've got grandparents, all within close proximity, and other members of the tribe who are willing and wanting to live the same sort of way. So we've got plenty of the young people getting married, or they'll be married 10 years down the track or whatever. There's always some older person that's been there, done that, and has got the solution to whatever their problem is. So the key to all this is when you've got those support mechanisms around you. If a young couple's got or couple that be married 10 years, for example, have got a problem, an issue, it's nipped in the bud because you've got a lot of older people that have been through what you're going through. They've got the wisdom, they've got the life experience and stuff. And so they can share that with you to solve your problem while it's small, so it doesn't get way out of proportion. So it gets solved easily and quickly. So the effect of this is it keeps levels of anxiety, stress, and frustration down because you've got built-in support mechanisms. Whereas in a lot of cases these days, we don't have that network of extended families around us. And so we're very much on our own and feel alone often. And we have issues. It can have issues that come along as they do. They can have a big impact on our relationship, particularly if we start sort of blaming each other or things get out of hand and stuff like that, so we end up, and over time we end up repeating patterns of behavior, and it may not be good patterns of behavior, which really impacts on the viability, the quality of a relationship, and how each spouse feels. So obviously, I don't know whether a lot of you guys are aware, but in 2032, we've got the start of the new golden age of Aquarius, where we're also expected to go from third dimensional people like we are now, a lot of us, or maybe up into the fourth dimension to become fifth dimensional. And, with emphasis on joy, unconditional love, and cooperation, getting on with each other. And there's going to be two ways, or a couple of ways where things are going to change. There's going to be the violence that in a lot of cases we're seeing at the moment, or in the other way of doing it is going to be a peaceful evolution, if you like, through establishing communities where we participate, we're all viewed as being equal to each other, and we all help each other. We all serve the community together, the community we belong to. And this is something that is close to my heart, I guess. I have a bit of Maori blood in me, from New Zealand originally, Ngāpuhi blood. So I guess the tribal thing, the cooperative thing, the community thing is sort of like ingrained in me. And so I have an idea for a cooperative community that I want to get started as soon as possible, and so we can help and support each other way more than doing at the moment. Because in a sense, it does really break my heart when I see couples of any age, but particularly young couples when they first get married, they're on their own, they're vulnerable. Like we've seen recently, all the increase in interest rates and that for people, and that new home buyers that have purchased their first home, paid their 20% deposit, and the interest rates have gone up, putting huge pressure on the budget and things like that, disposable income and things, and of course that not only puts pressure on, not only got the pressure on the finances, but pressure on the relationships, and if you've got children, it's pressure on the children as well, and the whole family unit as such. So, so obviously the solution to all this would be establishing communities where we can all live in a cooperative fashion, all helping each other, all view each other as being equal, equality, and the whole concept, the overall concept of oneness, where we get together and help each other, support each other. So that's what I like to do, guys. Yes, I guess it's the systems of society we live in. It's how it's been organized, the ownership of land, the titling of land. And there was an Indian chief, his name is Red Cloud, he said some really wise prophetic words. And this is supposedly an uneducated man said, how can anybody own the land that we walk upon? Well, actually, the only real owner of the land is the being or God that created Earth and all of us. He's the only person that actually does the real true owner of planet Earth, if there is an owner. But he didn't say that you had to pay $500,000 or $1 million to have the privilege of setting foot on this Earth or this planet. There was no dowry at all. There's no requirement for any monetary outlay in order to qualify to come to Earth or to live here. Didn't have to get permission. But obviously, it stems from the blue bloods, kings and queens, and things like that. That provided taxes, for the British, peasants and so on, and the way they, had tenant farmers and so on, and then it spread to the US when the colonies set up over there. And it's interesting, isn't it? When obviously the colonies went over there and they saw the Native Americans living in their tribes, to start off with, the colonists thought, hey, this is a great way to live. But they sort of put the powers that be put the kibosh on that really quickly and decided they would adopt the British system of dividing up the land and titling it, so you had to pay for it rather than sort of just acquire it. Or a way to have done it with the Indians would be to have lived alongside them, not been any threat to them, but lived alongside them as they did. But obviously that was stopped pretty quick. Anyway, I won't go on. I won't bore you to tears with any more of this stuff. But but strength lies in numbers. Strength lies in groups. The power, when you come together as a group in a community, you're powerful. When you're on your own, you're vulnerable, and that really impacts on your relationship. So hopefully, sooner rather than later, I, and obviously others as well, are going to do something about that and help to set up communities so we can all cooperate and work together in equality and have some fun and have less stress, anxiety, and frustration in our lives. Okay, guys. Bye for now. Love you. Bye.